Greetings everyone, this is Jed Shlackman. In this short video presentation, I'm covering a topic that I'm referring to as the top 10 myths and dogmas of modern science. The scientific method is a process of continual observation and refining of hypotheses and theories based upon empirical evidence and data collection. There is always much more data than we can observe, and many variables which we may not be able to perceive, let alone control in an experiment. Thus, scientists' theories are often disproven and replaced with new concepts or understandings as access to information and further observations leads to greater awareness. Unfortunately, the field of science has frequently been compromised by political and financial interests, as well as groups and individuals whose social and psychological biases make it difficult for them to admit being mistaken. Scientific theories have become dogmas that are maintained by silencing dissent and suppressing evidence and speech, ensuring conformity to the dominant paradigm and currently prevailing beliefs. Consequently, in every age, including our current era, there are many ideas and beliefs that are widely accepted as scientific fact or truth, which have actually been contradicted by the available evidence and which have in reality been exposed as false by those who have been willing to challenge the orthodoxy and discern the truth. Science is not about consensus, but about continually seeking to refine our understanding of the world. It's not about a body of knowledge, but about a process of continually refining that knowledge or understanding. Claiming a consensus to avoid confronting challenging evidence or contrasting perspectives is not genuine science. It is a propaganda ploy. Here we're going to look at several common beliefs and theories that are in fact false. They're merely myths or dogmas of modern science. The first one is the Big Bang Theory. This is the theory that the universe was created by a Big Bang, where there was some immeasurable pressure, an energetic force that blasted everything into existence. This idea, in a sense, is based on materialism, based on the idea that whatever exists in the physical reality is really all there is, that there isn't some higher dimensional force or some greater densities of energy and consciousness which are continually creating what we perceive in physical reality. And I've listed a few websites where you can read more about the evidence that contradicts the Big Bang Theory. I will place some links by each of the items that I include in this list of scientific myths. I encourage all of you who are viewing and listening to this presentation to do your own further research. Number 2 on our list, which is in no particular order in terms of which myth or mistaken theory is of greater significance than any other. Here we're looking at the man-made global warming or man-made global climate change theory, the idea that human CO2 industrial emissions are the cause of climate change. This is a theory that has stirred a lot of emotional debate. CO2 is a very common, a very natural substance. We each release CO2 when we breathe. Plants use CO2 to help foster their growth, their health. So CO2 is something that's a natural part of our environment and which exists at certain levels or concentrations in the atmosphere. And the man-made global warming theory has the supposition that CO2 is actually driving climate change, that it's causing the planet to heat up. The actual evidence about CO2 suggests that things have been misinterpreted, that CO2 is not a significant contributor to any type of greenhouse effect, and that CO2 is held within the ocean waters, and as the planet starts to heat up or the increase in temperature occurs, then the oceans start to release more of that CO2 back into the atmosphere. So the correlation goes in the opposite direction of what people holding to the global warming theory of a man-made cause are assuming. There's a lot of evidence that the activity of the sun is a key factor in climate change, of much greater significance than any human industrial contributions. And we should also consider that there are man-made activities that are affecting weather, things such as spraying chemical contrails into the atmosphere to produce a cloud cover. So that's affecting the short-term weather, and it's also releasing potentially harmful chemicals into the environment. Yet people who are discussing man-made global warming and climate change are typically not discussing the activity of these chemical contrails. So there's a lot of confusion and suppression of information going on, something that we need to really confront to get a better understanding of what's happening with the climate. The next topic is that of vaccines, and the myth here is that vaccines are safe and effective ways to prevent disease. In America and other parts of the world, it's become common to mandate, to force the population to receive these medical treatments of vaccination. Yet there's a lot of evidence that there are negative adverse effects of vaccinations, as well as a lack of true scientific evidence that they have provided any lasting long-term benefits for human health. Understanding how our immune system truly functions in a holistic, systemic manner, and understanding what's actually in vaccines and how the human body may react or cope with those vaccines is a complex subject. We need to really research this in depth rather than taking for granted what the medical industry, what government officials are telling us. Another common myth that so-called scientific authorities have presented is the idea that fluoride is a safe additive to our drinking water to promote dental health. Fluoride is actually a compound that has significant adverse health effects these have been very clearly demonstrated, including the effect of harming the nervous system, lowering IQ, contributing to endocrine disorders as well as to cancers, not to mention dental fluorosis, the harmful effect upon the teeth of excessive fluoride exposure. So I encourage everyone to research this further. The next subject is the one of consciousness, and the idea that consciousness is a product of neurological activity. The belief that the chemical and electrical activity of the nervous system of a biological organism is the source of consciousness. And this is contradicted by many forms of evidence, particularly in the field of parapsychology, where non-local consciousness has been well documented, where people have near-death and out-of-body experiences, where their consciousness is active and functioning, even though the brain appears to be non-active. The next myth is the idea that humanity has yet to meet or interact with extraterrestrial beings. The actual evidence shows that human beings on this planet have been interacting with beings from elsewhere throughout history. So there are many ancient documents, ancient art, as well as reports, testimony from people who have had these experiences and interactions with extraterrestrial beings, including millions of people in our current era. We have whistleblowers from the government, from science and industry, people who are sharing their experiences. The next topic is that of cancer treatment and the idea that chemotherapy and radiation are typically the best treatments available for cancer. Those are the most commonly used treatments in modern medicine, yet there's a great deal of evidence that there are other treatment approaches that have much better outcomes and which are actually safer, which don't have the many adverse effects that we associate with chemotherapy and radiation. And you can view those websites and other resources to find out more about those alternative cancer treatments. We have to understand that cancer, in a sense, is a process that's occurring within the body. And it's a process where we're seeing the end result or effect from multiple underlying causes. And chemotherapy and radiation are merely designed to destroy cancer cells. So they're addressing the superficial effect rather than working at the causal levels of what's occurring. If we can address the causal levels more, we'll be able to achieve better outcomes. And that is what many of those alternative, those holistic types of cancer therapies are actually seeking to do. The next myth or idea that we're looking at is the idea that the world we perceive with our physical senses is objectively and inherently real. There's a great deal of research in physics, as well as research involving parapsychology and non-local consciousness, which has shown us that the physical reality that we think we're seeing is ultimately illusory. And you could read a lot more in terms of the physics that's involved, in terms of what we've come to understand based on these actual experiments. Another common misconception is the idea that there is no evidence of life after physical death. There is actually extensive evidence from people who have had near-death and out-of-body experiences, from mediums, people who are receiving communications from spiritual beings. Also research in the area of reincarnation, where people are accessing memories of other lifetimes that can be empirically confirmed or validated. Therefore, there is much evidence that consciousness predates, in a sense, or exists beyond the physical life experience that we're having here on this plane. And the 10th myth or concept that we'll consider is the idea that spiritual healing and faith healing are bogus. These practices have been going on throughout human history, and numerous people have reported great benefits, miraculous healings, after experiencing some type of spiritual healing. Spiritual healers are being increasingly studied and researched, and there are tangible results and effects, tangible phenomena associated with their practices. Scientists are finding things out about the brainwave activity of these healers, as well as different forms of energy that they are in some way radiating. Extremely low frequencies, infrared light, things of that nature. So there are very real, tangible phenomena that are occurring, and in a sense, the proof is in the pudding when people have miraculous results after experiencing spiritual healing. So we can look at that research as well as the actual experiences of millions of people who have had benefits from that type of healing. This doesn't discount the reality that there are people out there who are engaging in some type of fraud or hoaxing of a phenomena, but those frauds and hoaxes don't discount the reality of the phenomena as a whole. People that are skeptics of things of this nature will often point to a particular fraud and use that to discount or discredit the phenomenon in general. In summary, I encourage everyone to research things further on your own. Don't take the word of this video or its creator as authoritative truth, nor of any other source as authority on these topics. You are encouraged to engage in your own research and to use your own critical thinking, rather than assuming that any external source has the definitive knowledge on a topic. In science, there's the understanding that any particular theory or hypothesis can be shown to be incorrect. It can be disproven by just one piece of contradictory evidence. It doesn't take a lot to turn those beliefs or ideas upside down. We want to continually re-examine things. We want to continually expand our understanding. Sometimes widely held beliefs, things that people have seen as accepted consensus reality, turn out to be erroneous, to be mistaken. In addition to the topics I've covered in this video, there are other subjects in which whatever the consensus has been may turn out to be inaccurate or incorrect. So the idea that science is the arbiter of truth, that whatever most people in any particular scientific field have concluded is accurate, well, that's something we need to re-examine. Science is not deterministic in that sense. It's not something where things are conclusively proven and decided for eternity. It's something where we can continue to expand our understanding. My own work specializes in the healing arts, so I work with energy healing and spiritual healing, with natural health and wellness, with mind-body healing methods such as hypnosis. For those that are interested in these topics, I invite you to visit my website at www.phinsights.com.